There's a place where the earth refuses to curve, where the horizon stretches so far that the human eye begins to doubt its own geometry. For 10,000 years, this corridor of stone and silence has served only two masters: the sun above and the wind that carries its memory across 3 continents. The Tabuk province of northwestern Saudi Arabia is not merely remote. It is a landscape that actively resists human presence. Summer temperatures exceed 50 degrees Celsius. Rainfall is measured not in months, but in years between storms. The sand here does not rest. It migrates. It buries everything that stands still long enough to be forgotten. And yet, in 2021, someone looked at this emptiness and saw something that had never existed anywhere on Earth. They called it the Line. 170 kilometers of continuous structure. 500 meters tall, 200 meters wide. A vertical civilization contained between 2 parallel walls of mirrored glass that would house 9 million human beings. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced the project with the confidence of a man who had already seen the future. The line would have no cars, no streets, no carbon emissions. It was not merely a city. It was a new operating system for human civilization. The promotional materials showed a structure that seemed to hover above the landscape. The mirror facade would make the building disappear, they said. Nature would see only itself. For a brief moment, it seemed like the impossible had become inevitable. But there is a peculiar quality to mirrors. They show us exactly what we wish to see, and they hide everything we prefer not to look at. This is a story about that hidden space, about the creatures that cannot see glass, about the physics that glass cannot escape, and about the question that no promotional video has ever answered. What does it cost to make a building disappear? Twice, adjured the skies above northwestern Saudi Arabia transform into one of the most congested airspaces on the planet, not with aircraft wheat feathers. The Rift Valley and Red Sea Flyway is the second most important migration corridor for soaring birds in the world. Over 2 billion birds from more than 100 species funnel through this narrow passage each autumn, traveling from Europe to Africa. Soaring birds do not fly the way most people imagine. They ride invisible columns of rising warm air called thermals. These thermals form over land, not water. Open seas are deadly to soaring birds. They cannot cross them. They must go around. This is why 2 billion birds converge on the head of the Red Sea, exactly where the line is being built. There is no alternative route. The birds have been making this journey for millions of years. The route is encoded in their genes, and now, directly in their path, a wall of mirrored glass is rising 500 meters into the air. The science on bird glass collisions is unambiguous. In the United States alone, building collisions kill over 1 billion birds annually. Birds cannot perceive glass the way humans do. When they see sky reflected in a window, they perceive open space. They do not slow down. They accelerate toward what they believe is safety. At 30 miles per hour, collision with glass is catastrophic. Skulls fracture. Brains hemorrhage. Even birds that fly away often die within hours from invisible injuries. The line is not a single building. It is a continuous reflective barrier extending 170 kilometers across the migration route. A 2024 paper in Trends in Ecology and Evolution named it among the most pressing conservation issues for global biodiversity. The magnitude of the line, they wrote, may pose a novel threat to 2 billion migratory birds. Nouvelle du World has never seen anything like this. We do not know exactly what will happen. We can only calculate what is likely. When sunlight strikes a mirrored surface, it does not disappear. It bounces. It redirects. It concentrates. The Line-S design calls for 2 parallel mirrored walls, facing each other across a gap of 200 meters. Between them lies an outdoor space, intended as the city's public realm. The marketing materials show gardens, trees, people strolling in casual clothing. But this canyon is located in one of the most extreme thermal environments on Earth. The southern wall will receive direct sunlight for most of the day. That solar energy will strike the mirrored surface and reflect into the canyon. The space will function as a solar concentrator, trapping radiation in ways that amplify rather than moderate the desert climate. This phenomenon has been observed before. In London, a curved glass tower focused sunlight so intensely it melted parts of parked cars. In Las Vegas, a hotel's reflected beam burned guests by the pool. They called it the death ray effect. Those were single buildings. The line is 170 kilometers of parallel reflective surfaces designed to face each other. NEOM claims the Kenya has been scientifically modeled for optimal shade. But they do not publish the thermal data. They do not explain how vegetation will survive concentrated solar radiation from multiple angles. The renders show a Mediterranean paradise. The physics suggests something closer to an oven. Glass in a desert does not stay clean. The Tabuk province is one of the most active aeolian environments on Earth. Sand migrates constantly. Dust rises on thermals and travels hundreds of kilometers. During storms, visibility drops to near zero, and particles coat every surface within hours. The line's exterior surface area exceeds 34 million square meters of mirrored glass. This is not the facade of a building. It is the surface area of a small country. Even weekly cleaning would require approximately 12,000 workers operating continuously during daylight hours every week. Forever. And at 500 meters, most of the facade exists where conventional cleaning cannot function. Wind speeds increase dramatically with altitude. Suspended platforms cannot operate safely in winds exceeding 25 kilometers per hour. In Tisrayon, such winds are routine. Then there is water. Glass cleaning requires water. Millions of liters annually. In a desert that receives less than 100 millimeters of rainfall per year. All water must come from desalination, which generates brine waste that threatens the Red Sea's coral ecosystems. Without constant maintenance, the mirrored facade would transform into a wall of grime within months. The defining aesthetic feature would disappear, just not in the way the designers intended. In January 2024, when scientists named the line among the world's most pressing conservation concerns, they noted something troubling. No environmental impact assessment had been published. NEOM's responses follow a consistent pattern. They acknowledge concerns in general terms. They mention facade treatments and nature corridors, but they provide no details. They publish no data. Solutions for bird-safe glass exist. Patterned coatings, fritted glass, ultraviolet treatments. These can reduce collisions by 90%. But there is a problem. Bird-safe glass is not perfectly reflective. A surface that birds can see is not a seamless mirror. The aesthetic that defines the line is incompatible with the modifications required to protect wildlife. You can have perfect mirrors, or you can have bird safety. You cannot have both. NEOM has not acknowledged this trade-off. They have not explained how they will reconcile the visual effect with biological reality. Meanwhile, 2 billion birds continue their ancient migration. They do not know that a wall is rising in their path. They will discover the truth at 30 miles per hour. The original budget was $500 billion. Internal documents revealed a different picture. Before construction began, the estimate rose to $1.6 trillion. By 2022, it reached $4.5 trillion. By late 2025, some figures exceeded $8 trillion. The consequences were predictable. The original plan for 20 modules by 2030 contracted to 3 modules, covering 2.4 kilometers. Population targets dropped from 1.5 million to 300,000. In September 2025, the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund suspended work entirely. The Financial Times interviewed over 20 people who worked on the line. All requested anonymity. All described a project undone by the laws of physics and finance. One former manager summarized it simply: everyone knows the project will not work. It is now just a matter of letting MBS down gently. The desert fell quiet. Foundation piles support nothing but ambition. Excavations are filling with wind-blown sand. The mirror reflects limits that no render ever showed. In the debate over the line, certain voices have been absent. The birds do not hold press conferences. The workers do not have representatives. The marine ecosystems do not publish papers. The Al-Huwaitid tribe occupied lands in the project's paths. When they resisted relocation, consequences followed. Abdul Rahim Al-Huwaiti posted videos opposing the forced displacement. In April 2020, security forces shot him dead in his home. His brothers were later sentenced to death. Other tribal members received sentences up to 50 years. Meanwhile, workers building the line faced conditions that labor advocates describe as systematic exploitation. Under the kafala system, migrant workers cannot change jobs or leave without employer permission. Passports are confiscated. Complaints risk deportation. The 2023 investigation alleged over 21,000 workers on Saudi Vision 2030 projects had died or disappeared. The claims cannot be independently verified. Saudi Arabia does not publish workplace fatality statistics for foreign workers. The mirror reflects landscape and sky. It does not reflect the human cost of keeping it clean. The strangest aspect of the line is simple. Everything it promises could have been achieved more, entirely through conventional means. Sustainable, dense, walkable cities exist throughout the world. Copenhagen, Singapore, Tokyo. They house millions with minimal emissions, an excellent quality of life. None required 500-meter walls of mirrored glass. Researchers at the Vienna Complexity Science Hub analyzed the line's geometry. A circular city of 3.3 kilometers radius would serve the same population with far shorter distances. In the line, 2 random inhabitants would average 57 kilometers apart. In a circle, 2.9 kilometers. The linear form creates the very problem it claims to solve. Why this shape? The answer was never satisfactorily given. The linear form does not emerge from ecological or practical logic. It was chosen for visual impact, designed to look unlike anything ever built. The line is an Instagram city, a city designed to be photographed. Its form makes sense only as an image. The moment you ask practical questions, problems multiply without solution. The mirror is the perfect metaphor. It shows observers what they want to see. But it is fundamentally a barrier, pretending to enable passage while preventing it. As of early 2026, the line exists primarily as earthworks and foundations. The trenches have begun filling with sand. The renders have been replaced by satellite images of suspended animation. The project has not been officially cancelled. The timeline has shifted from 2030 to 2045. The scale has contracted dramatically, but the questions remain unanswered. If construction resumes, what happens to the birds? 2 billion continue migrating through the flyway twice a year. They cannot read press releases about facade treatments. They can only fly into whatever stands in their way. If construction resumes, what happens to the workers? Someone must clean those mirrors in extreme heat at dangerous heights under conditions no labor law was designed to address. And if construction does not resume, what happens to the truth? At least $50 billion spent, villages demolished, people displaced, imprisoned, executed. Workers dead building foundations for structures that may never rise. Mirrors show us what we want to see. They reflect the present without memory or consequence. When you turn away, the reflection vanishes. But nature does not work like mirrors. It accumulates consequences. It remembers. Every bird that strikes the glass becomes part of a population decline rippling through ecosystems for generations. The birds know they are flying south again, following roots of evolution burned into their DNA millions of years ago. They do not know that humans have decided to build a wall of glass in their path. They will find out. And when they do, the mirror will show desert and sky and beauty and harmony. It will show everything except the bodies at its base. That is the final secret of the mirror facade. It is designed not to reveal truth, but to prevent us from seeing it. What we do with that knowledge is a question the mirror cannot answer. It can only reflect what we choose to face.